English Literature, Paper 2, Part 2. The first thing I'm going to say is the comparison poem question is exactly the same as everything you've already done in English Literature. No difference, except for two things. If you've got these two things, you've got the question. You know how to do it. You can get good marks in it. So the two things are writer's methods and comparison. So to show you that it's exactly the same, except for two things, is look, this is the mark scheme for the comparison poem question. It's exactly the same as paper 1 English Literature, and it's exactly the same as English Literature paper 2 question 1. The only difference is comparison. It says critical and exploratory comparison. So I'm going to tell you how to do these two things, how to add that in just for this question. So this is a grade 9 response. It got 30 marks, 4 marks. This is what you want to get. I'm going to show you how you can get here. So let's look at it. Let's break it down so then you can copy and replicate. So it starts with a point where they're comparing kamikaze to poppies here. So it starts with a point. Evidence, quotes, explanation, quotes. Point, evidence, explain, simple P paragraph with quotes in there. Then it says similarly, comparison. Then it goes again. Point, evidence, explain. So all this is two P paragraphs linked in with similarly. Same thing again, two P paragraphs, this time linked with comparatively. So this one was two P paragraphs, but it was similar between the two poems. This one's two P paragraphs, but it was a difference between the two poems. This got 30 marks. Now there's two reasons why you wouldn't be able to do this. There's two reasons why you would struggle to do this. The first reason is the use of caesura. If I said that right. The use of caesura is one reason why you wouldn't get this. The second reason is the comparative and similarly. You know how to do P paragraph. You know how to do two P paragraphs. But what you might not know how to do or struggle to do because you haven't done it before is link them together and analyze poetic techniques because they're only specific to poems. So the first thing I'm explaining you how to do is the writer's methods. So normally, in English language, there's metaphors, there's similes, there's personification. You've analysed these in paper 1, metaphor, in Macbeth, there's an exaggeration. You've done all of that. You've done all of that even for, just before this question, on question 1, in Spectacles or whatever other book you're doing, you would analyse it. You know all about this. But for poems, it's specific. There's more that you need to know. There's more writer's methods. So this is a quick overview. I recommend you watch a separate video on this. But for structure, they can also be enjambment, caesura, and affer and volta. If you don't know what these are, go learn them. Right now they look complicated, but if you never knew what a metaphor was, that also looks complicated. But when you know, it's simple now. So it's the same thing for these ones. Just learn them, it becomes simple. These are structural techniques. So you know how we have zoom in, zoom out. You know how we have flashbacks. We also have these just for structure, just for poetic structures. Then there's form. Now form is a bit different, but the way I'll explain form is that we have content online. You can have a short, you can have a reel, you can have a video, you can have a podcast. The poetic version of that is just form. You can have an epic, you can have a narrative, you can have a free verse, you can have a sonnet, and you can have a dramatic monologue. So if you're struggling to understand form, just think of it as a short, a reel, or a podcast, or long form video. There's different forms of content, there's different forms of poems. So learn that so you can analyze it. Because when it says analyze the writer's methods, you should be analyzing language, structure, and form. If you don't know the poetic specific writer's methods, you can't get high grades like this because they've used the use of caesura. They have also said the word. Look, they've also used enjambment, caesura. They've also used the metaphor. So they also have used these normal ones that we're talking about, but they've also added these poetic specific ones. So learn the structure, learn the form. That's the first thing to get this grade 9 answer that you don't know or haven't done before. The second thing is the point. So now you've got the writer's methods. You now need to know how to do the point thing. All it is with the point is you just need to link them. If I ask you to write me 3 P paragraphs on Ozymandias, you could do that right now. If I ask you to write me 3 P paragraphs on London, you could do that right now. But what you might not know how to do is link them together. So if I ask you to write me an Ozymandias P paragraph, you just write a random one. And then if I ask you to write a London one, it's also a random one. The only extra brain cells we need now is that the points need to be linked. They either need to be the same, or they need to be different. So here, this point is evil. This point is also evil. so those are the same. This point's about arrogance. This point's also about arrogance, so they are the same. This point's about short-lived. This point's about long-lasting, so they're different. That's the only extra brain cells you need, is to make sure your points are related somehow. They need to either be similar or different. So those are the two things. Writer's methods, which you need to learn, and also you need to learn how to link the points together. So with the points, how you would link them together, I would recommend is start off with the poem that you know. So you're in the exam, and let's say it gives you Ozymandias, and it says compare something in Ozymandias to another poem. You would think about the poem you want to compare it to, and then you think, okay, so what are the differences and similarities about Ozymandias and the poem that I want to think about? So let's say you know this quote about this, and you say, oh, Kamikaze and Ozymandias have this in common. I could write a paragraph about this. Okay, that's one paragraph done. Okay, Kamikaze and Ozymandias have this point different. Okay, that's another two paragraphs. And Kamikaze and Ozymandias also have this in similarity. So that's three paragraphs. That's it, done. So when you're planning them, don't plan them alone, plan them together. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so in summary, this is what you need to know. So if you're thinking out, okay, what do I need to learn? This is what you need to learn. You need to learn a poem to compare to. And for that, you need to know the writer's methods. That's AO2. And then you need to know also some AO3 for it. Now, ideally, you should know all the poems roughly, like all 15 roughly. So it's easy to analyze. Let's say any poem comes up in the exam. It's pretty easy for you to look at it and go, yeah, I know a bit about this. Let's compare this. But worst case scenario, let's say you don't know any poems. You should know roughly all 15 and in depth 5. But let's say you don't know any. Then I'd recommend to learn 2 poems in depth. Like when I mean in depth, I mean everything. You should know everything about that poem. And the reason I don't say 1 poem is because if that 1 poem comes up in the exam, it's over for you. If you know 2, then at least if the 1 comes up, you can compare it to the other one, yeah? So for me, for example, I love Kamikaze. I could say anything about Kamikaze, and I only need to learn Kamikaze. And then any poem that comes up, any poem, I would just link Kamikaze to it. But you can only do that if you know the poem like bang on. If you know it like word for word, if you know all the writer's methods, if you know the context behind it. It sounds hard, it's not hard. It's just 1 poem. If you don't know, if you have 5 poems ready, if you know them all roughly, that's fine. If you don't, this is last minute for you, learn 1 poem really deeply. Actually, sorry, 2 poems really deeply. And then in the exam, compare it to the poem that comes up. That's the last minute method, but I would prefer if you know all of them roughly and 5 in depth. Then the second thing you need to know is writer's methods. You already know about language. The only thing you need to do is learn the form, which is, I remember it's reels, YouTube videos, shorts, same thing like that, just for poems. And then the second thing is structure, Volta, enjambment, caesura. Learn those, it's pretty easy. But also last minute, if you already know the poems roughly, you can already pick out the caesura. You already know where that is in the poem. If you don't know that, if you haven't revised the poems, you need to make sure you learn the writer's methods even more, because you need to pick them out on the spot in the exam. You've never seen the poem before. Let's say Poppies comes up. You've never seen Poppies before. You then need to make sure you know caesura, enjambment, Volta. You need to know those so well, and you need to know form so well that in the exam you can pick it out. First thing, know your poems. Second thing, writer's methods. Third thing is your own structure. So here it was simply P paragraphs. This is from Mr. Everything English video. He used Pretzel. Someone else might use Peter. Whatever you use, it doesn't matter. Just use your own structure. Know your own structure, yeah? But cut it down, because here, for example, the P paragraph is quite short. It's 2 P paragraphs in 1 paragraph, basically. So if your structure is really long, you need to cut it down. Just make it simple, point, evidence, explain. Don't stress it. And then, you know how there's 3 paragraphs here, and I've also said there's language, structure, and form. Try to do 1 for each. So for this one, symbolism, metaphor. This is like the language analysis one. This one's sonnet and Volta. So this one's a form analysis. This one is a language analysis. This one has a caesura, that's a structural analysis, and this one has a narrative. So you notice here, they've analyzed language, they've analyzed structure, and they've also analyzed form. So ideally, what you want to do is have 1 paragraph. You basically want to mention all of them. So, in summary, if I asked you right now to write this, there should be no reason why you couldn't write it. If I asked you to write me 3 P paragraphs on Kamikaze, you could do that. If I asked you to write me 3 P paragraphs on Poppies, you could also do that. The only thing you need to add in is this poetic specific writer's methods. And then also you need to learn how to link the two paragraphs together. And that's it. Simple. P, link, P, link, P. Do that 3 times. That's it. And also make sure you learn these quite well, because they're also going to help you out for part 3.